E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another Legal Hands to the Face show. For those that don't know me, my name is Bill Colarulo. We are proud to be a part of the JAKIB Sports team now. This is week 3. We're going to be live streaming this show simultaneously on our Legal Hands to the Face platforms and the JAKIB Sports Network. We talk all Philadelphia Eagles, and what a time it is to be an Eagles fan. 3-0. Only 3 teams still stand in the NFL who are 3-0, and yesterday was an absolute domination. Could have been even worse for the Tampa Bay Bucs if the Philadelphia Eagles had better red zone efficiency. We will get there, but we're sitting here, no Super Bowl hangover to worry about. The Eagles are 3-0. We got a great show planned today. We're going to break down yesterday's game. We'll talk about the offense. We'll get into the defense. We'll also talk a little bit of special teams. My man, Britton Covey, showing out yesterday. So we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll be joined later on in the show by Dr. Chris Radcliffe, Harvard-trained, Duke Medical School. He'll be breaking down some of these injuries for a team that was so healthy last year. The Eagles just can't seem to stop getting injured in these games. But he'll break it down for us, and hopefully we'll have some good news. But guys, just a reminder, we do this show usually every Monday night, 6:30. But because the Eagles were on Monday night, obviously we couldn't do it last night. I was down at the Ocean Casino for the JAKIB Sports pregame, halftime, and postgame show with the man, the myth, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn, and Mark Farzetta. So we're doing the show tonight, but it will be every Monday night at 6:30 p.m., breaking down all Philadelphia Eagles. But if you like the show, be sure, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Make sure you're like and subscribe to Legal Hands to the Face, JAKIB Sports. And we post daily content to our Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. So be sure you're following Legal Hands to the Face on all those platforms as well. So a little shout out, Barbara Carroll. Great to see you. Vesicle Ear, who hosts the show? That's me, Bill Colarulo, Mark DiStefano. What is up? Guys, please engage, leave comments. I'll respond when I can, but let's jump right in to yesterday's game, or I should say last night's game. What a dominating performance by that Philadelphia Eagles team. The score 25-11 doesn't even begin to do it justice for what the Eagles did down at Raymond James Stadium. It started with Eagles fans taking over that stadium. I don't know if you guys saw some of the videos on social media, but it was amazing. Eagles fans travel better than any freaking team in the NFL, and they took over Raymond James. But then it came onto the field. Just listen to some of these stats before we start breaking down offense, defense. The Eagles had 472 yards of total offense. The Tampa Bay Bucs, 174. The Eagles, 200 rushing yards, and they held Tampa Bay to 41. And understand something here. This Tampa Bay Bucs defense was a good defense, especially against the run. Going into that game, they were the number 2 ranked defense in the NFL against the run. And since Todd Bowles joined them a few years ago, they've been in the tops in the NFL, giving up an average of only 91 rushing yards a game. And the Philadelphia Eagles just absolutely dominated the offensive line of scrimmage. And James McKeith weighing in, we're going to get there, but definitely hats off to Sean Desai. Really liked what he did. That defense looked like they were ready, and we're going to talk about it. But let's keep it going. 28 first downs the Philadelphia Eagles had. They held Tampa Bay to 11. And the time of possession, usually the time of possession is going to dictate a lot about the flow of a game. And you look at the time of possession in this game, 38 minutes and 55 seconds, the Philadelphia Eagles held the ball. Almost 39 minutes. And the Tampa Bay Bucs only on the field for 21. Going into this game, Tampa was 2-0. I know a lot of people were surprised by that, but they were playing a very efficient style of offense. If you follow me on Instagram, I was doing videos on this leading up to the game. They hadn't turned the ball over They'd only given up 1 sack. They were being very efficient with the ball. Philadelphia Eagles come out and absolutely dominate both lines of scrimmage. They force 2 turnovers, interception against Baker Mayfield, that great forced fumble by Jalen Carter, and they get 2 sacks as well. And Jalen Hurts, 277 yards. I know he had those 2 interceptions. We're going to talk about it, but some real promising things there. DeAndre Swift balling out. A.J. Brown with a big game. Britton Covey, big punt returns. Really a great overall performance by a lot of people on that team. And I want to jump right in. But before we start breaking down the stats and the offense and the defense, you got to take your hat off to Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni has really done a great job of building a culture here that can handle adversity. You saw it last season, and you saw it again going into this year. We talked all offseason about this Super Bowl hangover, and was it a real thing, and teams starting out slow. And there's no doubt that this Philadelphia Eagles team is getting better each week. They have not reached the top of their potential yet. But you look at Nick Sirianni and what this guy does and what Jalen Hurts does is they win football games. And I went back and looked at the last 10 years of Super Bowl losers, and their overall record after week 3 is 16-14. Teams don't come out like the Philadelphia Eagles have in these first 3 weeks after losing a Super Bowl the way they did to a 3-0 start. And what we've seen and what's so promising is they're getting better every single week. The game against the Patriots didn't look great, but they got the W. They come out against Minnesota. They started to get a little bit better in certain areas. They come out in week 3 and look at all of the areas that have improved. And hey, I've been the biggest critic of Michael Clay on special teams. Special teams even look good. So you got to give all 3 coaches, Nick Sirianni, and then the 3 coordinators, Brian Johnson, and we'll talk about his play calling in a second, Sean Desai, and even Michael Clay, some credit for how they've played in this game. And Barbara Carroll weighing in, she's had higher hopes for Jalen Hurts, and we're going to talk about it. But I went back and watched the game today, and Jalen Hurts did some really promising things. So we will talk about it in a second, but let's look at this offense and what they were able to do in this game. Like we talked about, Tampa Bay, number 2 ranked defense against the run. The Philadelphia Eagles absolutely dominate the line of scrimmage. I'm going to pull up some of these stats because they're just unbelievable here. But you look at rushing yards. They averaged 5.0 yards a rushing play. That's against Vita Vea, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL against the run. Couldn't stop us. 5.0. And that's including some kneel downs, how many tush-push plays. They absolutely dominated that line of scrimmage. DeAndre Swift, what a game he had again for the second week in a row. He averaged 6.8 yards a carry throughout the first 3 weeks of this season. Yesterday, 8.1 yards a carry. It's just unbelievable what this guy's been able to do. And let's talk about that passing game, because really that's the only thing that gives us pause as Eagles fans. And I heard it all day today. People are still calling up a little bit concerned about that passing game. But yeah, James, I agree with you. He's saying in the comments, he's heard all week that the Eagles couldn't run versus the Bucs. You didn't hear it on this show, I'll tell you that, because all week I was saying that they were going to be able to run the football because they showed us last year that there wasn't a defense in the NFL. I don't care how good a defense is against the run. They cannot stop this Philadelphia Eagles offense when it comes to running the football. They showed it last year, and they showed us again yesterday. There's no team that's going to stop them on the ground. But what people are concerned about is the passing game. And I get it. Jalen Hurts, 2 interceptions in that game. One of them, I'm giving him a pass on. The one with DeAndre Swift, it looked to me like DeAndre Swift was running an option route. What an option route is exactly what it sounds like. Swift has the option. He could either go left, he could go right. Sometimes they have the option of just curling and settling down. It looked to me, and I don't know whether it was Hurts's read that was wrong or DeAndre Swift's read that was wrong, but they clearly weren't on the same page. That's why that interception happened. The interception he threw deep to to Devontae Smith towards the end zone, that throw I didn't like. I think that was a shot he didn't have to take. Maybe he was pressing a little bit. Maybe he was forcing it a little bit. But outside of that, I did a video last week, and I said it here on this show, that what was concerning me about Jalen Hurts, and I got a lot of heat for this, man. I love Jalen Hurts, and I appreciate how much all you guys love Jalen Hurts. But I made some comments about Hurts, and people came after me hard. But I'm just trying to deliver it like I see it. And I thought last week against that Minnesota Vikings team, and in the week before against the Patriots, that Jalen Hurts looked as if some of the weaknesses he had coming out of college resurfaced in those first 2 weeks. He wasn't trusting his pocket. He wasn't allowing routes to develop. He was quickly putting his eyes down after his first read and exiting the pocket. Those were things that I didn't like that he did in the first 2 weeks. He didn't do that yesterday. You have to give Jalen Hurts credit yesterday for what he was able to do. Number one, they put up 277 yards in the air. They put up over 200 yards on the ground, 477 yards of offense. I know we want perfection. We're Philly. We want perfection. I want perfection too. But when you look at what Jalen Hurts did yesterday, he did everything that we've been asking that I didn't like that he was doing in the first 2 weeks. When there was pressure, he didn't immediately exit the pocket. Let's just look at that Olamide Zaccheaus touchdown throw. He dropped back. His first read wasn't open. He didn't exit the pocket. He actually maneuvered within the pocket. He stepped up in the pocket. He found Zaccheaus, and he threw Zaccheaus open. Olamide Zaccheaus was not open. He threw him open. You got to give Jalen Hurts credit, and he did that a few times. If you go back and watch the game, even if you just watch some of the highlights, Jalen Hurts had a lot of nice throws in this game, a lot of things that show me that he is getting better each week. The guy didn't play in the preseason. So these are preseason games in essence for Jalen Hurts, these 3 weeks, and he's gotten better week after week after week. I didn't like the 2 turnovers, but you do like what you saw from Jalen Hurts in this game. The one area on this offense, because they did dominate every single spot on that offensive and defensive line. But the one area that I would have loved to have seen them improve on, and this is why the score was 25-11, is red zone efficiency. The Philadelphia Eagles yesterday finished the game 1 for 5 in the red zone. Now, one of those was at the end of the game. Unfortunately, that gets lumped in. They weren't trying to score. But the Philadelphia Eagles were 1 for 5. You look at last season, that was an area that the Philadelphia Eagles excelled in. When they got to the red zone last year, the Philadelphia Eagles scored touchdowns 68% of the time. 68% of the time. That was number 3 in the entire NFL. This year, after week 3, they're only scoring touchdowns 45%. 45% of the time. That puts them at number 25 in the NFL. So their red zone efficiency has to get better. Didn't hurt them yesterday, but it's going to hurt them when you are playing the better teams in the NFL. You cannot afford to put up field goals and sometimes walking away with 0 points when you get down to the red zone. So that's an area I definitely want to see them improve. But let's just look at Brandon Katz weighing in. The Eagles offense still didn't look that good. Tampa's secondary is terrible. They put up 477 yards, 472 yards. I mean, this was a dominant performance. I agree with you. I'd like to see a little bit more from our passing game. But when you're picking up that many yards per carry on the ground, just keep running the damn football. That's what I said going into this week is if, look, they're going to give you the run, take it. And Todd Bowles blitzed. I had to double check this stat because I could not believe that this was accurate. Todd Bowles blitzed Jalen Hurts 75% of the passing plays yesterday. 75%. The Philadelphia Eagles blitzed Baker Mayfield 12%. You talk about the difference. And who did you feel was under more duress, Jalen Hurts or Baker Mayfield? Eagles were all over Baker Mayfield. And we'll talk about our defense in the next part of the show because Jalen Carter at defensive tackle is on a different level. But let's look at some of these stats on offense for our boy Jalen Hurts. Now, Pro Football Focus, they always put out their grades. Not that this is the Bible for the NFL, but one of the areas of concern with Jalen Hurts is through 3 weeks, he is graded overall as the number 22 quarterback in the NFL. Not going to cut it. I agree with you. Not going to cut it. But he looked better yesterday. He did things yesterday that we wanted him to do. Stay in the pocket, go through his progressions, make big throws. And he was able to do that yesterday, and he's getting better each week. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But he is completing 68% of his passes this season. That puts him in the top 10 in the NFL. I want to see bigger throws. I want to see less mistakes. But he's not playing as bad as maybe some are saying he is. And trust me, I am not going to give Jalen Hurts a pass when he doesn't deserve a pass. I made statements last week that got me killed on Instagram about some of the things I saw with Jalen Hurts. Some of the weaknesses I saw with Jalen Hurts. I felt like he played a lot better of a game yesterday with being under pressure. 75% of the time the blitz is coming and you're running the ball as effectively as you are. Jalen Hurts did exactly what we needed him to do. Just don't turn the ball over, and I think we'd be talking about a lot different things here. But I want to talk about DeAndre Swift for a second because we're all in love with DeAndre Swift, as am I. He's number 2 in the NFL after 3 weeks with 308 yards, and that's after getting 1 carry in week 1. 1 freaking carry. How they only gave DeAndre Swift 1 carry in week 1. Thank God we won that game, or we'd all be throwing things at the damn TV. But they've only gave him 1 carry week 1. He's still number 2 in the NFL when it comes to rushing. Pretty amazing. I want to pull up these stats. The only guy that's ahead of him is that rookie from Miami who went off in that 70-point game that they had. But week 1, 1 carry. Week 2, 28 carries. Week 3, 16 carries. And the reason why I'm telling you how much carries he has is because he's never had that many carries in back-to-back weeks. Ever in his career. He has never had more than 15 carries in back-to-back weeks. And this is what my concern is. As good as DeAndre Swift is, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. We talked a little bit about this last week, but I want to just give you guys some stats here. In 2020, he had 16 carries in a game. He missed the next 3 games due to injury. In 2021, he had 33 carries in a game. The next game, they gave him 14. That's the closest he's come to getting more than 15 carries in back-to-back weeks. He then got hurt and missed 4 games. In 2022, started the season with 15 carries. He had 5 and 7 and got hurt in the 3rd game after that. So the Eagles keep giving DeAndre Swift the ball. Don't get me wrong. The guy is a playmaker. Put the ball in his hands, but you got to limit it. I thought they hit it right on the head yesterday, 16 carries. But you got to get some other guys' work here. Kenny Gainwell looked okay when he had his carries. They really given him the ball at the end of the day. But keep DeAndre Swift healthy. I don't think he should be getting 28 carries like he did 2 weeks ago. Somewhere between 12 to 15 touches is probably enough for him. Maybe 18 if you're going to include him in the passing game. But 308 yards through 3 weeks when he didn't even play really in week 1 is pretty damn impressive. But we all talk about this offensive line and why this offensive line is so good and how they're able to run. What's pretty amazing is a guy that I'm not sure gets enough credit for his blocking ability is Dallas Goedert and even Jack Stoll. So I talked about Pro Football Focus, and this is pretty impressive stuff. According to Pro Football Focus, through 3 weeks of this NFL season, Dallas Goedert is the number 1 rated blocker from the tight end position, and it's not even close. Dallas Goedert has a 90 rating run blocking. The closest person to him is Jake Ferguson from Dallas, and he only has an 80 score. Dallas Goedert is 10 points higher than the next closest tight end when it comes to running the football. And number 4 in the NFL, Jack Stoll with a 73.2 rating. So when the Philadelphia Eagles come out in 12 personnel, they essentially have 7 offensive linemen on the field. You have Jack Stoll, Dallas Goedert, and then you add 2 Hall of Famers in Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson with Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata, and Cam Jurgens. No wonder they're able to run the football. So pretty impressive stuff. I know we haven't seen Dallas Goedert get involved in the passing game as much as we want, especially me because he's on my damn fantasy football team. But the way he's blocking in the running game is so damn impressive. Number 1 graded in the NFL, and it's not even close. And Jack Stoll right behind him at number 4. And then you go to the outside, A.J. Brown, big game. What did he have in this game? He had over 100 yards this game. I wanted to look at, so far this season, he's got 20 catches, but 13 of them have gone for first downs. 13 of his 20 catches have gone for first downs. Pretty impressive stuff. I'm looking at Transistor Zen weighing in that there were 3 perfectly thrown touchdown passes last night that were dropped, 2 Adre drops and 1 to Zacchaeus. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is playing a lot better than what we're giving him credit for last night. And I was a guy, and I don't want to make excuses, but apparently a guy had the flu. Jason Kelsey had the flu. Not making excuses for Hurts, but last night was not one of these games where I am worried coming out of it about Jalen Hurts. I was concerned after the Patriots game. I was concerned after the Vikings game. But you saw him get better this week. He's still not fully there. He's not the Jalen Hurts we saw last year, but he's getting close, and I'm okay with it. But A.J. Brown last night on 14 targets had 9 catches, 131 yards. Pretty damn good. But the guy I was most excited about was what we saw from Olamide Zacchaeus. They talked about how DeAndre Swift was a local Philly St. Joe's Prep guy. Olamide Zacchaeus is a St. Joe's Prep guy as well. I think he grew up in Magnolia, if I'm not mistaken, in South Jersey, not too far from the city. But all offseason, if you follow me on Instagram, I was one who was calling for them to bring in some competition for Quez Watkins. I'm not out completely on Quez Watkins, but I thought they should have brought in some competition for Quez Watkins because Quez Watkins not only made some big mistakes last season. We saw the turnovers against Washington that brought the Eagles their first loss last season. You saw that big drop in the Super Bowl. I don't even want to think about it. Makes me want to cry. But you saw that big drop there. But what I found most concerning about Quez Watkins last year was you knew his production would drop in terms of yardage, catches when you brought a guy like A.J. Brown in. But what I didn't like was that his yards per catch dropped. He went from averaging 15 yards per catch in 2021 down to 10.7 in 2022. So not only were there missed opportunities, mistakes, turnovers, drops, you also saw this guy who's supposed to be taking the lid off of a defense, yards per catch dropping. So I was happy they brought in Olamide Zacchaeus. It didn't look like until Quez got hurt that they were really going to give Olamide an opportunity. But Quez goes down with his hamstring, and Olamide Zacchaeus takes advantage of it in a big way. He had a really good game yesterday. Olamide has 2 catches, 58 yards for a touchdown. That's what you want to see. Average yards per catch, 29 yards. If teams are going to try to focus on taking Devontae Smith away, Olamide Zacchaeus is going to get opportunities, and he took advantage of them. That's what I like to see. So let's look one more time at some of these Pro Football Focus offensive grades before we take our first break and get into the defense. But this team, you look at Jason Kelsey at center. He's actually only ranked, which is crazy to me, 15th in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus, through 3 games. But the guys that look really good are the tackles, as usual. Jordan Mailata is the number 2 graded tackle in the NFL through 3 games behind only Trent Brown. Pretty incredible stuff. And if you look at just the Tampa Bay game, Lane Johnson was absolutely lights out. He was the highest graded player on that offense. 88.7 rating on that offense. Lane Johnson, an 85.8 on pass blocking, 87.1 on run blocking. We know how good that offensive line is. But one guy, and I did a video this morning about this on my Instagram, one guy that sometimes gets overlooked on that offensive line is Cam Jurgens. We know how good Kelsey and Johnson are. We know how good Mailata has become. Lane Dickerson, Pro Bowler last year. But the big question mark coming into this season was who's going to take over for Isaac Sayamawa at right guard. And Cam Jurgens played really, really well last night, especially in the run game. His pass blocking, he's still got to get a little bit better. He's still got to get a little better in his pass blocking. But in the running game, he was really good last night from that right guard position. And when you have all 5 of your linemen firing on all cylinders, and you have 2 tight ends that can block as well as Dallas Goedert and Jack Stoll are blocking, and you have a running back like DeAndre Swift who's able to hit the holes, and when he hits the hole is a real playmaker in space, this team is scary. And I know people have been saying, hey, they got to be able to throw the ball. They have to be able to throw the ball. If you can run the football the way the Philadelphia Eagles ran the football last night, you are going to win a lot of games in the NFL. And before we take our first break, I just want to talk about some things from last year to this year, because I know a lot of people thought that offense was unstoppable last year, as it was. We're pretty much getting to the same spot. They're doing it a little bit differently, but pretty much getting to the same spot. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles were number 3 in the NFL, averaging 389 yards of total offense per game. Through 3 weeks, the Philadelphia Eagles are averaging 384 yards of offense per game. They are pretty much right on the money. So you got 389 to 384. And I see Brandon Katz weighing in. Hurts didn't throw for under 200 yards, my man. He threw for 277 yards yesterday. So I know he threw for under 200 yards in 2 of the games. And I talked about that. I didn't like the way Hurts looked against the Vikings. I didn't like the way he looked against the Patriots. I saw a lot of improvement from him in this game against the Tampa Bay Bucs. He threw for 277 yards. And you look at the numbers, the Philadelphia Eagles last year, 28.1 points a game, number 3 in the league. This year, 28 points per game. They are pretty much right on total yards per game and total points per game. They're not doing it the way we are used to seeing. They're not doing it by throwing the ball. It will come. It is a long season. Exactly, James. It will come. The passing game will come. Teams are doing things they didn't do last year. So keep taking what they're giving you. Run the football, dominate the time of possession, dominate yardage, dominate first downs, and keep putting up points and keep chalking up the wins. And when you have a defense as good as this Philadelphia Eagles defense, which we're going to talk about after the break, they're going to win a lot of football games. Just stay calm. But let's take our first break. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thanks for watching.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Legal Hands to the Face show. As always, Bill Colarulo. Before we took our break, we were talking about the Philadelphia Eagles offense. There's a lot going on in the chat, which I love. Keep the engagement coming. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, share with your friends. The more Eagles fans we could reach, the better. But this seems to be a constant debate over the first 3 weeks of the season. Jalen Hurts, and can this Philadelphia Eagles team win with this formula? I talked about it last week. Jalen Hurts needs to get better. Jalen Hurts will tell you he needs to get better. He did get better in week 3. We've seen him improve every single week this season. But when you look at the bottom line, what I don't understand as fans is not only do the Philadelphia Eagles have 3 wins in 3 games, look at where they stand. I just talked about total offense. They're in the exact same place they were last year, yards per game. They're in the exact same place they were last year, points per game. They're in the top 10 in the NFL in yards per game, top 10 in the NFL in points per game. They're number 2 in the league with the plays that they've run. They've run more plays than 31 other teams in the NFL. They're in the top 10 for time of possession. So you look at all of these things, yeah, their passing game will get better, but they're 3-0. And the offense is dominating teams. We just don't like the way it's being done, or at least some of us don't like the way it's being done. But give them a shot. Give them a chance. They're 3-0. The offense is putting up points, okay? So I'm just reading some of the chats here. I know 3 bad teams, but you play who you play, man. We talked about that last year. And this Bucs team, we could talk about how they were a bad team. They were number 2 in the NFL in rushing defense. They've been number 1 over the last 4 seasons in rushing defense. So the Philadelphia Eagles imposed their will. Jalen Hurts didn't have a horrible game. You take those 2 interceptions away, and we talked about them. But let's jump right in. Enough about the offense. I thought there were some promising things there. But let's talk about this defense. And damn, I mean, we knew Howie Roseman had a good draft, and we were excited about Jalen Carter. But I never, and I know Philadelphia fans, sometimes we get, hey, you guys overreact. You overreact. I am not overreacting. I don't think we can overreact enough about Jalen Carter. This guy is the best rookie that I have ever seen on a Philadelphia Eagles team. Unfortunately, I am too young to remember Jerome Brown. I know people are comparing him to Jerome Brown. I was too young to really remember him. But this guy is the best rookie they've had on that defensive side of the ball that I've seen since Corey Simon. Corey Simon holds the Eagles franchise record for 9.5 sacks as a rookie. Jalen Carter is going to beat that. Jalen Carter is going to beat that. Not only was he the highest rated player on the field yesterday, He is one of the highest rated players in the NFL. You look at what this guy is doing, it is unfreaking believable that he is a rookie and he's on this Philadelphia Eagles team. So far, he's been double teamed 68. Well, this was last night. 68.8% of the time he faced a double team. He had 2 pressures on those. He's been double teamed quite often. He's only playing about 50% of the snaps. He has 6 quarterback pressures against the double team. There's only one player in the entire NFL that has more quarterback pressures than Jalen Carter against the double team, and it's Micah Parsons from Dallas, who everyone talks about may be not only the defensive player of the year, but there were talks from some that he may be the MVP of the year. And you're talking about a rookie who's playing less than 50% of the snaps is putting up numbers like him. He's also one of only 2 players in the NFL that has 15 quarterback pressures and 2 forced fumbles. The other one, TJ Watt, who's also talked about as the defensive player of the year. This guy is amazing. I mean, I don't know any other way to describe Jalen Carter than he is absolutely incredible. You go to the Pro Football Focus grades, they have him as the number 1 graded defensive tackle in the entire NFL. Not rookies, not as the best rookie in the NFL, the best defensive tackle. They have him rated higher than guys like Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence. They even have him rated higher than Javon Hargrave and Aaron Donald. So this is an unbelievable draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. And that defensive line is deep, deep. I have never seen a defensive tackle rotation as good as the Philadelphia Eagles have right now. You have Jalen Carter, who we talked about. Jordan Davis in his second year. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, this should not be a surprise to you that Jordan Davis is having a good year, because I was saying it all summer on Instagram and social media that I was expecting big things from Jordan Davis, because this was going to be a healthy year for Jordan Davis. In his rookie season, he had that lower leg injury. On a big guy, that's going to affect you all season long. And we're seeing how dominant Jordan Davis can be. And you put Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis on an interior, good luck. And I did a video leading up to the Tampa Bay Bucs game that talked about how they were going to feast on Robert Hainsey, the center for the Tampa Bay Bucs. And that's exactly what they did. And you saw it, case in point, on that safety. The Bucs had no chance getting out of that end zone with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter right in the interior. And then when those 2 guys aren't on the field, you have Milton Williams, Fletcher Cox, who seems to be having a resurgence. I think these young guys have been great for him. He's back saying, hey, look, I'm still the guy. I'm still the guy. And Fletcher Cox is playing well. And then we didn't even talk about the 5th tackle on this team, Marlon Tuipulotu, with a sack last night, quarterback hit. He's not playing a ton of reps, but it is a luxury that you have 5 defensive tackles that can not only stop the run, but can generate interior pressure on quarterbacks. That's going to disrupt a lot of teams. Going into this game, Baker Mayfield, I know he's Baker Mayfield, but going into this game, he had committed 0 interceptions, and he had only been sacked 1 time. And you saw what the Philadelphia Eagles were able to do to him, shutting him down. In the week before, I know it's the Chicago Bears, Baker Mayfield threw for over 300 yards. Philadelphia Eagles defense holds Baker Mayfield to 146 yards. They go 2 sacks. They pick him off for a quarterback rating of 73. That defensive line dominated, absolutely dominated. Now, I'm talking about how great our defensive interior has been. One of the concerns a lot of people have, and I'm starting to get there, is on the edge. Our edge rushers were so good last year, and it all started with Hassan Reddick. And we really haven't heard Hassan Reddick's name called at all. I mean, I watching the games, people are saying, hey, is Hassan Reddick even playing? He's playing. And in fact, he's getting a lot of snaps. Yet last night, Hassan Reddick played 66% of the defensive snaps. He was on the field for 31 plays. Pro Football Focus rated him in the pass rush, and this is what's concerning. They rated Hassan Reddick in the pass rush with a 67.1 grade. To put that into perspective, Jalen Carter, an 83.3. Make it even worse, Derek Barnett, a 74. So Hassan Reddick is being graded, at least against the Bucs, as a lower pass rush grade than Derek Barnett. I don't know if that thumb is affecting him more than what we thought it was going to, but we need more out of Hassan Reddick. This was a guy who should have been in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation last year, and he's just not giving us what we saw. Through 3 weeks, Hassan Reddick isn't even in the top 50, I don't believe, in the Pro Football Focus grades. Yeah, he's ranked as the number 71 edge rusher. Not good enough. Not good enough. I do think it's his thumb. I think he uses his hands to generate leverage, to be able to use his speed to get around the outside, but he's got to get better. If you look at the edge rushers, the Philadelphia Eagles don't have a single edge rusher graded in the top 25 from Pro Football Focus. The highest graded is Brandon Graham at number 27, Josh Sweat at number 30, and then Hassan Reddick all the way down at number 71. Now, it hasn't really affected the Eagles because their interior has been so damn good. They've been able to generate pressure there. That's where a majority of their sacks are coming from. But when we go up against these better teams, we're going to need those edge rushers, no doubt about it. But let's talk about those linebackers. I mean, you talk Nicholas Morrow. What a freaking story this is. Nicholas Morrow gets signed in the offseason. Mark DiStefano saying Reddick's contract may have a lot to do with it. Yeah, but if anything, if he wants a new contract, he's not earning it right now. That's the problem, Mark. If he wants a new contract, he needs to show that he's worthy of a new contract. I think he is. I still think he's going to get back to what we saw last year, but he is just not playing to the level that we saw him play last season. I do think it's that thumb. It's got to be. It's the only thing I can think of for him. But let's talk about Nicholas Morrow, the linebacker. This was a guy they signed in the offseason away from the Chicago Bears. Gave him no guaranteed money. He comes into training camp. They clearly didn't have faith in him. They bring in Zach Cunningham, Miles Jack. They cut Nicholas Morrow. He goes it to the mountains, apparently. I read a story. He goes up to the mountains, starts to mull his future, think about what he wants to do. Well, then Nakobe Dean gets hurt on this Eagles team. They re-sign Nicholas Morrow to the practice squad, and then they elevate him when Dean is out. And Nicholas Morrow played absolutely phenomenal linebacker play last night, in my opinion. You look at him, and where he's really excelled is in pass coverage from that linebacker position. He was the number 3rd ranked player in pass coverage last night, second to Sidney Brown, who unfortunately got hurt and didn't play as much as he could have in that game, and James Bradbury. Nicholas Morrow has been extremely good in coverage this year. And you look at where they have him ranked for a guy who was on the practice squad, actually was cut. Pro Football Focus has the number 12 linebacker in the entire NFL through these 2 games. It's unbelievable what Nicholas Morrow is doing. And Mark DiStefano took the words right out of my mouth. Zach Cunningham is also playing pretty well. So this linebacker position is a position that I've been concerned about because I did not have faith that you should have gone into this season with just Nakobe Dean, and we saw what happened. He got hurt. I was pounding my all offseason saying, hey, bring in more people to this linebacker room. They need some help. Well, it turns out the help they brought in worked. They didn't realize it at first. They cut him, but they brought him back. Nicholas Morrow, pretty damn good. Zach Cunningham, he looked lost in that New England Patriots game. And I guess it should have been expected. He was out of football. They bring him in late in the preseason. He needed to get acclimated, but he's looked very good in the last 2 weeks as well. So I'm okay with those linebackers. And really, this defensive tackle room makes it a lot easier on these linebackers to be able to play. You have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter wreaking the havoc that they're wreaking. You just saw it. You saw it on that safety. Nicholas Morrow was able to just shoot the gap and make that tackle. Pretty impressive stuff. And I don't know what happens when Nakobe Dean comes back. I think they'll give him an opportunity. But if Nicholas Morrow keeps playing as well as he's playing, I don't want to see them take him off the field. So maybe it's Zach Cunningham that he works in with, but Morrow, keep it up, man. And I got a special place in my heart for Nicholas Morrow. Division III football player. So I played Division III as well. I didn't realize Nicholas Morrow is a Division III football player who made it all the way up to the NFL. Fun fact, another Division III football player, head coach Nick Sirianni, played for the Division III powerhouse, Mount Union. But pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. Yeah, Brandon Katz, I agree with you. Nakobe Dean was not good in pass coverage in week 1 at all. And either was Christian Ellis. And I think the Eagles were hopeful that Christian Ellis was going to be able to step in and play linebacker this year. They saw him against the pass, and he has not gotten a lot of reps. In fact, he only played 8 reps yesterday on defense. So this is Nicholas Morrow, 100% of the snaps. Zach Cunningham played 77. Nicholas Morrow's the guy there in that linebacker room. 100% of the snaps, playing really, really well. And then let's take a look at our secondary. You got to give credit. I was a little against this move going into the game when they announced that James Bradbury was going to slide inside and play the slot. I didn't like that. I thought you have an all-pro corner who's played his entire career on the outside. Why are you going to weaken your defense by moving him inside? He's not going to be as good there. But it worked out. James Bradbury was really good inside. He got beat on a couple of routes, but really, really good. And you got to give Sean Desai credit, man. This defense, especially the corners, they've had some injuries. Avonte Maddox, Zach McPherson, Reed Blankenship's back, but he was down for a little while. Justin Evans, safety, he goes down in this game. And they look like they were ready to play. They had them ready to play. Now, Josh Jobe, unfortunately, he's battling. Pro Football Focus had him as the lowest graded corner against the pass in that game. He struggled. So I don't know what the future plan is for this Philadelphia Eagles team. I don't like keeping Bradbury inside every single week. I guess it made sense yesterday. It worked yesterday when you have a team where they have Chris Godwin in the slot. But I like Bradbury outside. You paid him like an outside corner. I want him to play him like an outside corner. The question is, who plays that nickel cornerback position? Mario Goodrich didn't even dress yesterday, guys. So a lot of people were hopeful. Hey, Mario Goodrich is going to take over at that slot corner position. He didn't even play. And we're going to talk to Dr. Radcliffe in the next segment about Sidney Brown. Hopefully he's not going to be out for any extended period of time. But he was starting to get some slot reps as well at that nickel corner. So maybe that's what they do. But you got Justin Evans down. So some question marks in that secondary. But I do want to give a lot of credit to Sean Desai. So far, I love the way this defense has been growing. I didn't like the way they played against the Patriots. They gave up way too many yards against the Vikings. But they had a lot of secondary pieces out. For a new defensive coordinator to come in and to be able to do what Sean Desai has done these first 3 weeks, I'm happy with. And Reed Blankenship, Crawley X26 just commented, loves Reed Blankenship. Reed Blankenship is a stud. He is an absolute stud. He looked so good yesterday. That was a big loss when he went out the last game, but he played really well yesterday. You could see how instinctual he is. He is a very smart player. He jumped all over that interception on Baker Mayfield, and it's exactly what we saw the first game he had as a starter when he went against Aaron Rodgers, and you could just see how instinctual he was, how intelligent he is on that back end. I'm really excited about him at the safety position. The question mark is, who's next to him? Who's that other safety going to be? Is Justin Evans? We're going to talk to Dr. Radcliffe. Is he going to miss some time with that neck injury? I'm not a big fan of Terrell Edmonds. I didn't think Terrell Edmonds played very well when he got in there yesterday. So that is the one weak spot on this defense, is who's going to be that other safety. But Avonte Maddox, nickel corner, other safety, those are really the two spots, nickel corner and safety. And Brandon Katz weighing in that Maddox was the most underrated player on Philly defense. The problem is, though, he can't stay healthy. and I did a video on this in the offseason, and unfortunately it turned out to be true, is he hadn't played more than 12 games in his career besides one season. And I don't think you're going to see him back in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform next year unless he agrees to restructure his deal. Like most Howie Roseman contracts, they backloaded Avonte Maddox's deal. He has a $4 million cap hit this season. If they bring him back next year, he has a $10 million cap hit. No way they're bringing him back with that hit. If they trade or cut him with a post-June 1st designation, they would save $7.5 million against the cap. So there is no way Maddox comes back, at least under the current deal that he's on. If he agrees to restructure, maybe you'll see him back. But that's about it. But I'm being told by my producer, Xander, that Dr. Radcliffe is ready. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk to Dr. Radcliffe about some of these injuries, and hopefully he'll give us some good news. Stay tuned, guys.
There is a reason why the Garden Medical Spa, with 4 locations in New Jersey, has arguably the best customer reviews in America for a boutique medical spa. At the Garden Medical Spa, there is no fluff, just results. For the best in Botox, chemical peels, dermal fillers, hydrofacials, laser hair removal, and so much more, please visit thegardenmedspa.com. Book an appointment now in Voorhees, Sewell, Collingswood, or Northfield. Thegardenmedspa.com. No fluff, just results.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
What is up, everybody? We're going to welcome in Dr. Chris Radcliffe. There he is.
Hey,
there
guys.
He is. What's
hey,
up,
buddy.
Doc? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I don't have you. Sandra, can you hear Dr. Radcliffe?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear him?
Can you hear?
Oh, let's see if we can get Dr. Radcliffe back. Hold on one second, guys. Yeah, I think I'm good. Hold on one second. I'm just checking my audio. Make sure I got Dr. Rocker Radcliffe. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I got sound everywhere else. Let's try it one more time, but we'll see. Doc, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. Yeah.
I can't hear you, Doc, but can you guys hear him in the chat? Give me a thumbs up if you guys could hear him, and I could at least ask him some questions here. For some reason, I don't have him. So, all right. Well, we'll try it. Let's well, I'm just going to keep rolling. Unfortunately, we're going to try to reconnect him. I don't have him for some reason, and I don't know why, but we'll jump right in. We'll keep going. Let's talk a little bit more about that defense, because some of the things that they're going to do. Yeah, we're going to try to bring Dr. Radcliffe back to talk injuries, but looking at this defense, we talked about that nickel corner. We talked about Sidney Brown. When Sidney Brown was in the game, he looks like he's a promising rookie. I'm not sure why he's not getting as many snaps. In this week, players got hurt. They had to put him on. But I'm not sure why they haven't played him more. You look at yesterday, Sidney Brown did start to get some reps. He had 12 snaps yesterday, played 26% of the snaps, and he had that really nice pass break up on Mike Evans, a little bit underthrown by Baker Mayfield. But I'm not sure why he didn't play more before that. They go to Terrell Edmonds a lot. They go to other players. But we're going to take one more quick break, see if we can get Dr. Radcliffe back, see if there's something up with my headphones, because I want to talk to him about Sidney Brown. Hopefully he's going to play next week. So let's take a quick 30-second break, guys. We'll be right back with Dr. Radcliffe.
There is a reason why the Garden Medical Spa, with 4 locations in New Jersey, has arguably the best customer reviews in America for a boutique medical spa. At the Garden Medical Spa, there is no fluff, just results. For the best in Botox, chemical peels, dermal fillers, hydrofacials, laser hair removal, and so much more, please visit thegardenmedspa.com. Book an appointment now in Voorhees, Sewell, Collingswood, or Northfield. Thegardenmedspa.com. No fluff, just results.
All right, we are back. Let's bring in Dr. Radcliffe and let's talk to him.
buddy.
Doc, can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, very much so. Can you hear me?
I have no idea why I can't hear you. I
Oh
can
my
hear the
God.
commercials. I can hear everything. I can't hear you. I think it's on my end, though, Doc, not you. But our people can hear you, so they can hear you in the comments. So I'm going to ask you questions. Let them hear you. That's more important. Oh, I guess we're not going to hear him. I got Xander doing it. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulties with Dr. Radcliffe. But so we'll talk a little bit about this upcoming week against Washington, because we got Eagles open up against Washington as an 8-point favorite in this game, which is a lot of points, home against the Commanders. We saw what happened last year. Philadelphia Eagles go into the link 8-0, and they lose to the Washington Commanders, and it was basically because of turnovers. A lot of turnovers in that game, and the Washington Commanders did not look good against the Buffalo Bills. They had, I'm going to pull this up because it was unbelievable. If you guys watched, I was watching the red zone. That's the one good thing about when the Eagles don't play, is you could watch these other teams. But they sacked Sam Howell 9 times and forced 4 interceptions and a fumble. So they had 5 turnovers in that game, 9 sacks. If they're going to come out and play a similar style of offense against this Philadelphia Eagles defense, it's going to be a long day for the Washington Commanders and Sam Howell. I don't think the Washington Commanders defense is that bad. And I didn't think they played that bad against the Buffalo Bills. But when you're turning the ball over 5 times against them and you're going to give up 9 sacks, it's a problem. But unfortunately, I'm hearing from Xander, we're probably not going to be able to get the Doc. I don't know why I couldn't hear him, so I apologize about that. He was ready to go. I wanted to talk to him about Sidney Brown and Justin Evans, but we'll try to get him back next week. Not sure what's going on with my audio with Dr. Radcliffe, but all good. Thanks, Dr. Radcliffe. I know he's tuned in watching, so I appreciate you, but we'll do it. We'll do it next week. So Guys, before we get into the Washington game too, I want to talk a little bit about special teams and my man, Britton Covey. Britton Covey was a guy that a lot of you gotta own up to it. A lot of you had said, hey, get rid of Britton Covey. Britton Covey's not good enough to be a punt returner on this team. We need to upgrade that position. I was saying it all offseason that if you looked at Britton Covey's stats in the last 10 games of the year, he was not as bad as people thought he was. When you looked at his numbers, he came out slow, but you looked at his punt return numbers last year, in the last 10 games, he was up there in the tops of the league with some of the best punt returners in the NFL, and you saw it yesterday, what he was able to do. 2 really big returns, and you saw how explosive he is. He's one of Merrill Reese's favorite players, I think. Merrill Reese loves him, but you saw how explosive he could be, and I think you're going to see more of that from him. As the guy continues to get more comfortable in the NFL, I think you're going to see more from Britton Covey in that return game. I was hopeful we would have saw a little bit more from Devin Allen. We didn't get it, unfortunately. He had a 1 kick return, wasn't the greatest, but Britton Covey is a really solid punt returner, very, very explosive. The Eagles also rolled out a new punter yesterday in Brandon Mann. Thankfully, he only had a punt 1 time. That Philadelphia Eagles offense was dominant with 39 minutes holding the football. So he only had a punt 1 time in that game. He punted for 39 yards, but wasn't a bad punt, but we will see. But coverage was better yesterday on both kickoff returns and that 1 punt return. The coverage was good. We saw the return game was better. So let's hope that Michael Clay has righted the ship for that special teams unit, because that was a weak spot all year last year. If you remember last year, they were in the bottom 2 in net punt return yards. They were in the bottom 3 in kickoff returns against, and we really saw it come back to haunt the Philadelphia Eagles in that Super Bowl. So let's hope that they've righted that ship, because in week 1, it was a disaster having to waste 2 timeouts on special teams. So let's hope they fix that. But I really liked what we saw from my man Britton Covey, who I've been a fan of for a while. A lot of people were down on him, but I think he showed enough potential that he's got a shot to be a really, really good punt returner in this league. But before we jump into the Washington-Buffalo review, and then I want to talk about a little bit about the Eagles-Washington game, just going to take one more quick break. We'll be back in 3 minutes, and then we'll go to the end of the show, and we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming matchup. Stay tuned, guys.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up, and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
All right, guys, welcome back. This will be the final segment or tonight's show. Again, sorry about that with Dr. Radcliffe. Not sure what was going on, why I couldn't hear him, but we'll bring him back next week to talk about injuries. Hopefully there won't be anything to talk about. But let's jump in, start previewing our Week 4 NFC East matchup against the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders went into this week all high, 2-0, thinking that they had a shot this season, and the Buffalo Bills brought them right back down to earth, completely dominated that game, 37-3, 9 sacks on Sam Howell, 4 interceptions, a fumble recovery, really just made that Washington Commanders offense look completely inept. So hopefully the Eagles are able to watch some of that tape, but that thing was ugly. But what I don't like, and it already started on the postgame show last night, I do the postgame show with JAKIB Sports. We had Mike Missinelli, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn. Mike Missinelli counting the wins. Hey, the Eagles will be 6-0 before they go against the Dolphins. You can't ever overlook an opponent in the NFL, but you really can't look past an NFC East division rival. We saw it last season. The Washington Commanders had no right coming into the link last year and beating that Philadelphia Eagles team. But things can happen, especially in the NFC East, in a division game, in a rivalry game like this is. So let's not overlook it. And I don't think the Eagles will. I think that's the one positive that we can take from this Philadelphia Eagles team not having played their best football yet. They're not going to overlook anybody. They're just trying to get better every single week. And that's the one positive that comes out of, hey, Eagles are 3-0, but they haven't played great. They haven't played their best football yet, but they've played better each week, and hopefully they continue to get better. But this Washington Commanders team, they're not as bad as that 37-3 score indicates against the Buffalo Bills. Their defense is a very good defense. They got a lot of young players on that defensive line that are pretty damn good. They have a really good corner in Kendall Fuller. We know how good that defensive line is with Montez Sweat and who's that young guy? I'm forgetting his name now. Chase Young. Chase Young is an absolute beast. Last year, he was hurt for a little while, but when he's on the field, he can really dominate. So this isn't going to be an easy game for this Philadelphia Eagles offense. They're going up against that stud defensive line. We know Ron Rivera is a pretty good defensive coach. A little bit surprised at how big the line is, though. I mean, it comes out, I think it opens up at 7 or 7.5. It's probably going to hover around that. It'll fluctuate, I'm sure, before game time, like some of them have already. But let's just take a look at some of the things on this defense for the Washington Commanders. So as far as their offense goes, I mean, that's really where they've been pretty inept, but their defense isn't as bad. They put them in some bad spots last week, especially when you talk about you turn the ball over 5 damn times. It's going to make it a little bit difficult on your defense. They gave the ball to Buffalo just too many times with good field position. But you look at their defense, overall, they are the 20th ranked defense against the pass in the NFL. And they are the number 11th ranked defense against the run. So we'll see what the Eagles decide to do this week. And I really think Nick Sirianni says it, and it sounds cliche, talking about take what the defense gives you. Going into that game against the Tampa Bay Bucks, you would have looked at the stats and said, oh, okay, Tampa Bay's not great against the pass, but they're really good against the run. Let's throw the ball like crazy. Well, Eagles don't have to have that mindset. Take what they're going to give you, and if they're going to give you the run and they're going to try to sell out on trying to stop the pass and they're going to bring the blitz, run the damn football. Do what the Eagles did. Put up over 200 yards on the ground. So this Washington defense, it'll be interesting to see what Ron Rivera does, because teams have been trying to stop the RPO. You haven't seen Jalen Hurts running the ball as effectively as he did in years before. Some of that is by design for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't care what Nick Sirianni says, where he says, hey, we're not going to stop or take away something he does well. I do think they're trying to make Jalen Hurts run the ball less. I don't think they want him to expose himself to injury. He hasn't been able to finish a season the last 2 years, finish a regular season. So I do think they're trying to run the ball less. But I also think that defenses are specifically identifying the RPO as something they need to stop. And you saw what Bill Belichick did. You saw what Brian Flores did. They came out in a 3-3-5, 2 high safety look with 5 D-backs on the field. Todd Bowles didn't do as much of that. Todd Bowles played a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, but they still were blitzing him and selling out on trying to stop Jalen Hurts, which really opened things up for that running game. And if that's what Washington tries to do, then that's what the Philadelphia Eagles need to take advantage of. Take advantage of the run. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they came into that game, hey, no one's going to be able to run on them. Eagles did it. So whatever Washington is good at, you sometimes have to throw out the window, because the Philadelphia Eagles can really just impose their will on anybody. You know, they can do whatever they want to do, but they haven't really been focused on that RPO as much this season as they were last year. But the Washington Commanders, they have a good defensive line. We talked about it. Chase Young, they have some young guys across that line that are pretty good. Linebackers aren't bad. Their secondary's okay. Secondary's okay, but where the Philadelphia Eagles will lose this game, because they're a better roster up and down. You look at the Washington Commanders on offense, I'm not sold on Sam Howell. I don't think he's as bad as he showed against the Buffalo Bills. I don't think he's that bad. I don't think he's going to throw 4 interceptions this week. But when he's getting sacked 9 times, things are pretty tough. But I don't think Sam Howell is a very good quarterback. I don't think he's as bad as he showed, but I don't think he's a very good quarterback. But they do have Brian Robinson, not a bad running back. They have Terry McLaurin. He's a playmaker on the outside. But I just think when you look up and down the roster for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders, and this is going to be what we say a lot of weeks going into these games, the Eagles are a better team. On paper, they are head and shoulders above this Washington Commanders team. But in a division game, like we saw last year, things can change if you don't protect the football. And that's what it's going to be key. Jalen Hurts needs to protect the football. He needs to make sure he doesn't throw 2 interceptions this week. That's how they lost that game last year. There were turnovers. There was that big Quez Watkins fumble where we thought we were coming back. He fumbles the ball. So Philadelphia Eagles protect the football and try to get pressure on that Washington Commanders team. Their offensive line is not that good. And Brandon Katz just said it too. Their offensive line is really not that good. And I don't know who is going to be good enough to go up against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the center of that defensive line. But you look at the Washington Commanders center, Nick Gates, not a bad center, but he's not one of the best in the league. And he's really not that great in pass blocking. He's decent in run blocking, but nobody has been able to run against this Philadelphia Eagles team. In fact, in 3 games, the Philadelphia Eagles defense has only given up 145 yards. That's for an average of 48 yards a game. 48 yards a game. And this was a crazy stat. They have not given up a run of 12 yards or longer all season long. That is crazy. No rushing, no carries longer than 12 yards this season. So I don't think there's anybody that's going to be able to run block against this team. And then trying to pass block, Nick Gates is an average pass blocker. You look at Washington's starting guards on this team. You have Sam Cosmi, pretty good. He's a pretty good guard. He does run block well. He does pass block well. But the other guard they have on this team, Sadiq Charles, again, very, very average. So the interior of that offensive line is, again, going to struggle. They're going to have their hands full going up against Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams. But I would love to really see, we talked about it when we were talking about this Eagles defense, is I would really like to see our edge rushers, who are really supposed to be the dominant force on this defense. You have Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Derek Barnett's getting some playing time, and Nolan Smith. I want to see them give him more playing time, but really would like to see them create some pressure themselves, not just interior. I don't want it to just come from that defensive tackle. I want it to come from the edge, and they're going to be going up against Charles Leno Jr., Andrew Wiley. These two guys, Charles Leno, I think, is a little bit better of a pass blocker, but Andrew Wiley's not been great this year in the pass blocking game. I would love to see this Philadelphia Eagles edge get after it a little bit. And I'm still not sure what is going on with Nolan Smith. This is a guy they drafted in the first round. Why are they not giving him more time on the field? I had Derek Gunn on the show last week, and I asked Derek Gunn, why is Nolan Smith not getting more time in this defense? And Derek Gunn said he reached out to people in the know in the Eagles organization, said, hey, is it his shoulder? Is that the reason we haven't seen Nolan Smith more? Is it his shoulder? They said, no, his time will come. So I don't understand why Nolan Smith's not getting more reps on this team. But you look at even against the Tampa Bay Bucks, Derek Barnett played 23% of the defensive snaps. He played 11 snaps in that game. Nolan Smith, 6 snaps. They are not giving this guy a lot of reps. He played 4 snaps the week before. I don't understand why they're not giving him more opportunity. And he said in the preseason, sometimes my shoulder works, sometimes it doesn't. Is that the reason they're not putting him on the field, or is he just not picking it up quickly enough? Is he not picking up that playbook? But Eagles are 3-0. We talked about, hey, the offense needs to be better. And we're talking about some of the things that this defensive line has been able to do, and it's been historic against the run. But they have to get better from the edge in causing pressure. Hassan Reddick, what's going on with him? Nolan Smith, got to get on the field. But they're going to have to against these better teams because they haven't played elite quarterbacks yet. They have not played elite quarterbacks yet. They went up against Mac Jones, gave up 300 yards. Went up against Kirk Cousins, gave up 300 yards. So when you start to look at who's coming up down the road, there's some really good quarterbacks. And the Eagles need to make sure that they're going to start generating pressure from not only the interior, but from these edge rushers who are supposed to be really good on this team. You got Hassan Reddick, who was in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation last year. But I do want to talk, let's take a quick look around the NFL, man. And you talk about the Miami Dolphins. My God, I've never seen anything like that. 70 points. 70 points against the Denver Broncos. They look like they're firing on all cylinders. But there's also something to be said. You don't want to peak too soon in the NFL, right? So I do like that the Philadelphia Eagles are working towards getting up there. But you look around the NFL, only 3 undefeated teams left: Philadelphia Eagles, Miami Dolphins, and the San Francisco 49ers. Forgot to give a shout out to our boy Jonathan Gannon for bringing down the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. Some former Eagles making some big plays there. Kazir White with the interception of Dak Prescott. Kevon Wallace with a big pass breakup. But I said it before, and I hate the Cowboys just as much as you do. We need to figure out a way to beat the Cowboys. I think the Eagles are a better team than the Cowboys, but they have not played very well against the Cowboys when the Cowboys have Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is 27-7 against the NFC East in his career. So the Philadelphia Eagles need to figure out a way to beat Dak Prescott. And I think they will this year, but they got to figure out a way to beat Dak Prescott. But I really think this NFC, just like we all thought in the offseason, is going to be a two-team race between the Philadelphia Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. And that's why it's so important. Even though the Eagles haven't played well, they're picking up wins. We need to make sure that we pick up W's because there's only one team now. Remember, the NFL changed the rules. There's only one team that's going to get a bye when the playoffs come. And that bye is important. And home field advantage for this Philadelphia Eagles team is important. And that could be the difference. One game may be the difference between having to go to San Francisco for an NFC championship game or the Philadelphia Eagles being able to host again. So let's just peek ahead at this schedule for this Philadelphia Eagles team. They have the Washington Commanders this week. If they come out and take care of business, Philadelphia Eagles should be able to win that game. They then have to go out to LA, and then they go to New York. Another 2 winnable games. But that's what I really like. This Eagles schedule is a tough schedule, but it did set up nicely that the Eagles, who we knew were going to probably come out to a slow start, losing the Super Bowl, the hangover, it's all a real thing. We knew they were going to come out to a slow start, but the Philadelphia Eagles have 6 games now. They've already played 3 of them, 6 games against not upper echelon teams, not upper echelon quarterbacks to really hopefully be firing on all cylinders, because once week 7 hits, things start to get a little bit tougher. You got the Miami Dolphins coming to town. We saw how high-powered their offense is. Then they have a little respite there with the Washington Commanders again. But then they go Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle, and then hopefully things get a little bit easier against New York, Arizona, New York. But again, you can't overlook the NFC East. So Philadelphia Eagles, I'm very, very happy. I'm very happy they're sitting here 3-0. I'm happy that they are dominating the lines of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that's how they are built. That's how Howie Roseman builds these teams. But there are areas that when we start going up against these upper echelon teams, they have to improve. Jalen Hurts has gotten better. He's not there yet. He needs to continue to improve in the passing game. He needs to eliminate the mistakes. You can't turn the ball over the way they turned the ball over so far this year. You got to protect the football. And on the defensive side of the ball, we need more from our edge rushers. That is a fact. We need more from our edge rushers. And we also need to figure out what are we going to do in the secondary now that Avonte Maddox is out for the year, Zach McPherson's out for the year. What's going on with Justin Evans and Sidney Brown? Are they going to be able to play? But those are some of the weak areas, and those are some of the question marks. I do not like, I said it earlier, I do not like moving James Bradbury inside. I do not want to see him play the slot corner position. I'd rather him stay on the outside, keep Slay on the outside. But with that being said, they got to figure out who's going to be able to play that slot, because they clearly don't trust Mario Goodrich. Didn't even dress him against the Bucs. Is it going to be a young guy? Do they trust Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks? Can Josh Jobe move inside? Josh Jobe got abused even against the Bucs team, who really didn't play that great on offense, didn't have time to do anything. Josh Jobe didn't look great. So these are all good things, though. We're 3-0. Eagles team's getting better, and these are areas we know we can improve. And the last thing I talked earlier, they have to improve in the red zone. Last year, number 3 in the NFL, converting 68% of the time in the red zone. So far this year, 45%. They're number 25 in the league. So got to improve in the red zone as well. But can't complain. 3-0. We're sitting here. Only 3 teams left in the NFL that are 3-0. Let's hope they can keep it going. Guys, appreciate you watching. Appreciate the engagement. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Head on over to all Legal Hands to the Face platforms on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. Give us a like. Give us a follow. We're posting daily content to all of those. Check out the JAKIB Sports pregame, halftime, and postgame show. I appear on those with Mark Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn, Mike Missinelli. We have John McMullen join usually from the stadium. So check out those as well. Appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate all of your support. And as always, go Birds.
There is a reason why the Garden Medical Spa, with 4 locations in New Jersey, has arguably the best customer reviews in America for a boutique medical spa. At the Garden Medical Spa, there is no fluff, just results. For the best in Botox, chemical peels, dermal fillers, hydrofacials, laser hair removal, and so much more, please visit thegardenmedspa.com. Book an appointment now in Voorhees, Sewell, Collingswood, or Northfield. Thegardenmedspa.com. No fluff, just results.